Hello everyone, my name is Dakfin Prentice and today I'll be talking about a psychological problem. I call it a mental Guantanamo. Mental Guantanamo is a term I use to refer to people who have allowed the problems of today's life to mold their thinking in a negative way. We are going to talk about the causes and the solutions. So if you're ready, let's get started. Mental Guantanamo, what is it? The word mental means something about the mind or involving the process of thinking. And Guantanamo is a name of a prison, but unlike any other prison, that particular prison is a special one. So mental Guantanamo simply means imprisonment that occurs in one's own mind. It happens in the person's head. More often than not, our own mind functions negatively through personal reasoning, and these thoughts can at times become very cruel, keeping us locked in a confined state of thinking. Our minds functions negatively because of the problems we experience in our life or because of the wickedness that exists today. So when we are thinking and our thoughts reach the point of being locked up, where we don't think of multiple things but we just have this one thought to make a decision on, we enter into a mental Guantanamo. And it gets even worse if that thought that puts us in the mental Guantanamo is a negative one. Consider this illustration. You and I had a fight at our work canteen, causing a very, very big scene. The next day at work, feeling distraught and embarrassed, I went about my activities as though nothing had happened, even going to eat at the same canteen we had the fight. But you, on the other hand, feeling distraught and embarrassed, stayed in your office, avoided other workers, and did not even go to the canteen to have a meal. This explanation, your behavior from the illustration indicated that you were thinking that the only way to deal with what had happened a day before was to hide or be reserved. As long as this thinking of yours continues, you will be denying yourself of going about your normal life pattern. And that puts you in the mental Guantanamo because there is no law or hard and fast rule anywhere that requires you to hide or be reserved in situations like that. If you have noticed, there's always a change of attitude with people who have had a disagreement or some sort of problem. That sudden change of attitude disrupts their normal life pattern. And the slower it takes such a person to recover from their problems to their normal life pattern, the longer they would remain in the mental Guantanamo. So as you can see here, we have a diagram that illustrates this whole thing that I've spoken about. So as you can see here, we have the normal life pattern here. It is straight. And then we have a break in the normal life pattern where there is a breach in the normal life pattern. The person plunges into a mental Guantanamo. And then we have the recovery to the normal life pattern where the person comes back into their normal life pattern. So this period is spent away from their normal life pattern is their mental Guantanamo. When you're in the mental Guantanamo, you become totally oblivious of the likely effects of your current condition. Though you don't act insane in this psychological condition, you could live your whole life in pain, feeling deep sadness without having a clue of the source of your pain or sadness. Many overweight people today deny themselves of both minor and major privileges just because they are fat. And this thought of being fat puts them in the mental Guantanamo because mentally they are not free to do and enjoy the things they love most in their life. And that leads them to depression. That leads them to having low self-esteem. That leads them to stress. That leads them to even anger. The only way overweight people can get out of their mental Guantanamo is by sitting down and recapping on all the negative thoughts that put them in that locked up captivity. So changing those old negative thoughts with new positive thoughts will give them the liberty to be both mentally and physically free to do and enjoy the things they love most in their life. This is an example. The thought of being fat makes you feel ugly. So instead of even thinking of yourself as fat to even feel ugly, you rather think of yourself as a human being who also deserves the best things in life. And these new positive thoughts will give you the urge to reach out for greatness like anyone else. The method of overriding negative thoughts with positive thoughts cuts across all situations that can get you out of a mental Guantanamo. You remember I spoke about the mind functioning negatively through personal reasoning. Xing out those negative thoughts or replacing those negative thoughts with positive thoughts helps to keep you away from being sucked up into multiple mental Guantanamo. It is true, it's possible for a person to end up into multiple mental Guantanamo. Still having found their way back to their normal life, they end up in more problems psychologically, which puts them into mental Guantanamos. Another way a person can be locked in a mental Guantanamo is by thinking of what other people might be thinking about them. As humans, we don't have the ability to know the thoughts of other people, yet some people fall back on their assumptions just to anticipate what other people might be thinking. Based on these assumptions, they make decisions. And this is where the problem is. Assumptions are not real facts, so decisions that are based on assumptions do not carry any weight at all. If you're a person who makes decisions based on what other people might be thinking, you are in the mental Guantanamo. For instance, you are wearing this new clothes to town. Halfway through town, you decided that people might be thinking, or you started reasoning that people might be thinking the clothes you're wearing is old, so you're going back home to change. That back and forth thing you just did puts you in the mental Guantanamo because it's all up in your head. It's not anywhere else but your head. And it's a psychological problem. We need serious attention because people aren't thinking what you're thinking. It is only you who is thinking, and you are living it because it's all in your own head. A similar situation happens in relationship where one partner feels the other is cheating on them and begins to fight, hate, slander, and even take the life of whoever is involved just over an assumption. The moment you start acting based on your assumptions, you put yourself in a mental Guantanamo, and that gets disastrous because you end up hurting your own self, harnessing your own happiness, harnessing your own freedom, and wasting your own time. For a person like that to get out of their mental Guantanamo, they quickly have to discard any thoughts that form in their mind based on mere assumptions. No, I'm not going to think of this negative thought. I'm not going to act on this assumption. You quickly have to discard it and make your decisions only on solid evidences, especially evidences witnessed by you yourself, and you'll be fine. Anyone could take you on their wings of lies, and you wouldn't know exactly what to do. But when you are on the right path, when you make your decisions based on solid evidences witnessed by you yourself, you don't base your decisions on assumptions, on what people might be thinking. You will be on the right path, and that is what is expected of normal thinking people. So if you only make your decisions on solid evidences, you will be fine in life. Note this, it's only when you are out of a mental Guantanamo that you come to know the difference between being in and out of it. And the joy of being out of a mental Guantanamo is more surpassing than anything else you can imagine. In conclusion, there's a list of people who also find themselves in a mental Guantanamo. People with a gambling addiction are in a mental Guantanamo. People traumatized by something are in a mental Guantanamo. Racists are in a mental Guantanamo. People who are superstitious are in a mental Guantanamo. People who live their life based on an opinion they have formed for themselves are in a mental Guantanamo. People who live their life based on opinion others have formed for them are in a mental Guantanamo. And this is the important part. People who want to but cannot stop being known or recognized for sticking to a certain style, trait, temperament, or choice are all in a mental Guantanamo. This is where I draw the curtains, and what I do is clinical psychology. If you need any psychological assistance, just feel free to drop me a mail at dacfinprentice2010@yahoo.com, or you can call me on +233 543738 or you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook as the name Dacfin Prentice. I thank you all for watching, and bye-bye.